Our next clip comes from a guy named Sean McAuliffe, who says he managed to record something seriously unsettling. Sean tells us he's been living in the same house for 23 years, having moved in when he was just 14, and from the very beginning, he's been noticing things he simply cannot account for. At first, he brushed it off, figuring it was probably all in his imagination. But as the strange occurrences kept piling up, he gradually came to believe that what he was witnessing might actually be real. As creepy as each of those moments must have been, this particular incident stands out as the most disturbing of them all. It's the middle of the night, Sean is out of the house, and the bedroom camera suddenly starts shifting around as though it's detecting motion somewhere nearby. A couple of seconds go by, and then this is what gets recorded. With the camera aimed directly forward, a dark shadowy shape can be spotted peering toward the lens before gradually revealing more of itself. But just as it's about to step further into view, the camera swings away. When it pans back, the figure has completely vanished. It's almost as if the shadowy presence was drawn to the camera out of curiosity, only to retreat the moment it unexpectedly moved on its own. Much like the figure itself, Sean finds this footage both fascinating and deeply frightening. At the end of the day though, he's relieved to finally have something on camera, because now he has tangible evidence that something else is sharing his home. But as always, the verdict is yours. Is this genuine proof of a paranormal presence, or is there another explanation for what was caught? 13 years ago, a man by the name of Kevin uploaded this footage to YouTube. He claimed he'd been experiencing a persistent sense that something else was sharing his living space. Not a visual sighting, just a gut feeling he couldn't shake. That creeping unease is ultimately what drove him to grab a camera and start filming. He moved through each room at a slow, deliberate pace, sweeping his gaze across every corner. For a while, nothing seems out of the ordinary, and then it shows up.
You fucking fucker. Right in the corner of this thing, there was this weird shape, man. He said I'm in here. What's down here, Joseph? Where are you? In where? Pussy. Do something. You fucked up now, man. We're gonna bless this shit. You're fucked. Yeah, fucking explode if you're here. You don't belong here anymore. Hear me? It's fucking my house now. You making that shit beeping noise, huh? Talking?
The footage cuts off with no answers given, and Kevin never returned to the platform to shed any light on what he went through. Initially, even I wasn't sure what to make of this, whether it was genuine or completely fabricated, but the reason this wedding footage went viral had nothing to do with the ceremony itself, and everything to do with something far more unsettling. The clip was originally posted by a TikTok user going by PowerRomero120, an account that doesn't see much activity, just a handful of personal moments and special occasions scattered here and there. This video, though, was something else entirely. On the surface, everything appeared perfectly ordinary, a joyful celebration filled with laughter, food, drinks, and a couple soaking in one of the biggest days of their lives. Then they paused to take part in the ring ceremony, and that's when the camera caught something that nobody could explain. Right in the middle of this tender moment, a deeply unsettling figure seems to move through the background just behind the newlyweds. It doesn't look like a setup. There were numerous family members present at that very spot, and based on the video's description, not a single person noticed anything out of the ordinary while it was happening. Afterward, everyone who was there confirmed that nobody had been standing in that position at that point in time. Over in the comments, mixed in with all the well wishes, viewers began flagging something else. That when the bride was handed her bouquet, a mysterious presence seemed to be lurking just behind her. So the question that keeps coming back is this: was an actual spirit captured on film that day, or is the real explanation behind this footage somehow even more chilling than that? School custodian finds herself alone in the building when the alarm suddenly triggers without warning. This woman has been pulling late-night solo shifts at an elementary school in Albuquerque, New Mexico for the past 6 years. And throughout that time, the building has been the setting for all kinds of unsettling incidents. The school was constructed on top of Native American burial grounds, and whenever maintenance work is carried out on the surrounding land or nearby trees, the paranormal activity inside seems to intensify. Then, one night while working alone, she manages to film a doll opening entirely by itself.
My car back, and this door's being weird. It was opening and closing by itself. And there it goes again. What the fuck? I don't know why the door is doing this. It shouldn't be doing this. You can shut the door now and stop messing. Oh my god.
A door then swings open and closed without anyone touching it, and not long after, she's in the gymnasium documenting her usual late-night routine when her camera picks up something that's genuinely hard to explain away. Pay close attention to what happens next.
I guess there'll be no vacuuming and sweeping today. I got this set up in the gym today, so... The fuck? There's nobody in here. Oh my gosh. There's nobody in here. This is locked too. Nobody. What the fuck? Make sure this is linked. That's fucking scary. Alright, well, I'm good. I'm getting out of here.
A series of mysterious knocks ring out from behind a locked door, and when she opens it along with a second door further inside, there's not a soul to be found. Yet the instant she steps back out, the door slams shut on its own, and the knocking starts all over again. At that point, she decides she's had enough and heads home for the night. But the question that lingers is, what exactly is behind the strange occurrences haunting this school? A guy named Eddie recently bought a new apartment somewhere in Poland at a surprisingly low price and moved in by himself, bringing only his cat along. The previous occupants, an elderly couple, had abruptly packed up and left without any explanation. The building itself is relatively modern, and that older couple had been the sole residents before Eddie came along. But it didn't take long after settling in for Eddie to develop an unsettling sense that something was watching him, and his cat started behaving oddly too, fixating on the walls and meowing at what appeared to be thin air. Eventually, he began picking up on strange noises throughout the apartment that he simply had no way of accounting for. So one evening, he positioned a camera to face the central junction between all the rooms and left it running through the night. Here's what it recorded. The bizarre knocking noises clearly unsettled the cat in a big way. On a separate night, Eddie notices his cat locked onto a single spot for an unusually long time, so he starts filming. And that's when something odd reaches his ears. Peculiar sounds appeared to be emanating from just beyond the door, and the cat was completely transfixed. After that night, things gradually began to escalate, with the knocking growing louder and more forceful. The next time it happens, Eddie grabs his phone to capture it while his other cameras are already rolling. Keep your eyes on everything at once. He swings open the door where the knocking seems to originate, only for the sound to shift to a different part of the apartment, now resembling something being rattled around. A chair can be heard scraping and is later found out of position. The situation appears to be steadily worsening, and now it's happening in the mornings and throughout the day as well. When he opens the door to investigate the knocking, nothing is there, and an object tumbles off the kitchen counter entirely on its own. The very next morning, the disturbances grow even more aggressive.
Cześć. Słyszycie to?
The knocking has now escalated into full-on banging, and as he pulls the door open, a white orb can be seen shooting out of the room. Some viewers have suggested it's nothing more than a dust particle, but regardless, Eddie is at a complete loss for what is happening inside his home. It's possible he was misled into a bad deal, which might explain the suspiciously low asking price, but hopefully he comes back with more updates soon. This clip was filmed roughly a decade ago by his wife and a couple of her friends during an urban exploration trip through some of Florida's abandoned locations. It was just the three of them making their way along a trail cutting deep through the woods, with nobody else in sight. But the moment they veered off the path, they stumbled onto something that set off every alarm bell. And here's what their camera caught.
So we're just coming off the trail. We've already passed these. Nobody is around except for Angie and Stephanie and me.
It's still going fast.
And it's swinging. It is swinging.
That's really creepy.
Oh my god.
Let's walk that way.
A swing is clearly moving by itself, as though someone is seated on it and actively pushing off. What makes the whole thing even harder to shake is that, by their account, there wasn't a breath of wind that day, and they were absolutely confident no one else had been out there. The only way to reach that spot was the same trail they'd just come down, and they hadn't crossed paths with a single soul. As far as they were concerned, there was no natural explanation for what they were seeing. But where do you stand on it? Is this genuinely something that can't be explained? Or is there a rational reason hiding behind it all? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Group of friends got way more than they bargained for when, late one night, a security camera inside a restaurant where one of them works picked up something that's genuinely hard to shake. As the footage rolled through the empty, closed-up restaurant, a ghostly shape suddenly materialized on screen. This translucent figure appeared to drift across the room before disappearing straight through a solid wall as the recording cut off. What made it even stranger was the form itself. The head seemed relatively solid, surrounded by what looked like long dark hair, while the rest of the body faded into near nothingness. And here's the part that really gets under your skin. The restaurant had been locked and empty for hours. No one should have been in there. Some things just don't have an answer, and this might be one of them. Jarek is a taxi driver working the late shift in Baguio, Philippines, when he spots a woman standing along the roadside flagging him down. What follows is something he says he'll carry with him for the rest of his life.
Wala. Multo ata yung nasakay ko ah. Ay. Wala. Wala. Multo yung nasakay ko. Diyos ko. May sumakay kanina. May sumakay kanina. May sumakay kanina pero bakit nawala?
The rear door swings open and shuts again, and Jarek is adamant that a woman wearing a long dress, white and purple, had climbed into the back of his cab. Just a few minutes into the journey, he glances up at his rearview mirror and finds the seat completely empty. He pulls over, turning around to check the back in stunned disbelief. Jarek acknowledges he was running on little sleep and never managed to clearly see her face, but he's absolutely convinced that someone got into that vehicle. Amy had been enjoying a peaceful afternoon to herself while her roommates were off at class. She was lounging in the living room when strange sounds suddenly started coming from the kitchen. She brushed it off at first, figuring it was just the house making its usual noises, but as the sounds grew louder and more persistent, she picked up her phone and headed in to check things out. Here's what her camera captured.
Happening again. I can record it this time. Come on. Look. Can you see that? That's... What the hell? They're all open. What the hell was that? Oh my god. Are you kidding me right now?
The moment she stepped into the kitchen, multiple cabinet doors seemed to fly open by themselves. Then, out of nowhere, a can of food launched itself right off the counter and hit the floor with a crash. Shaken and completely alone, Amy had no way to make sense of what she'd just witnessed, and from that point on, she never felt at ease in that house again. So, where do you stand on this one? Was this a real brush with the paranormal, or is there a perfectly rational explanation lurking behind it all? This dad had a habit of filming everyday moments of his little boy just goofing around the house. But one particular video that looked completely unremarkable at first ended up containing a detail in the background that left a lot of viewers deeply unsettled. At the time of the recording, the child was calmly playing by himself while his father watched through the lens. Keep your eyes on the background. Without warning, the door behind the boy swung wide open all on its own. Just a few seconds after that, a toy nearby crashed violently to the floor, and the child immediately spun around toward the room behind him, almost as though he could feel that something wasn't right. Whoa! That sequence of events led many viewers to conclude that something unseen had just moved through the space directly behind the child. A number of people have suggested the door may not have been properly latched, or that a draft could have been responsible, but plenty of others are convinced the footage may have accidentally documented something genuinely paranormal occurring inside that room, and ultimately, the final call is yours. This footage comes from a TikTok creator who claims his home has been plagued by paranormal activity since Christmas 2020. According to him, things have only been escalating, but his family simply doesn't have the means to pack up and leave. So instead, he's been recording everything, using his TikTok page to document each terrifying incident as it unfolds. Here's a glimpse at some of what he's caught.
La acabo de cerrar. Creemos que se va a volver a abrir porque se escuchan ruidos. Literal se acaba de escuchar un ruido. No. No mames. Amor, no mames. No. No.
A door flies open by itself, with absolutely nobody in the vicinity. Then a bottle sitting on the vanity randomly topples over, and if you look closely, that same door swings open again in the background, with no one anywhere near it. But right after that, things take a darker turn when strange sounds start coming from the bathroom.
No seas mamón.
A hairbrush begins moving across the sink on its own. No strings, no wires, nothing that could explain it. The moment he reaches out to pick it up, it suddenly launches itself directly at him, almost as though whatever is in that house is telling him to stay away. He barely flinches. At this point, he's gotten used to it. But then, just a few days later, he captures something that genuinely shakes him to his core. See for yourself what unfolded next.
Son las 3 de la mañana. Escucho que algo se cayó en la sala. Ese cubito yo lo había dejado en esa mesa. ¿Qué pedo? Amor, se está abriendo la... Amor, se está abriendo la puerta. ¿Qué pedo?
He hears a noise just outside his bedroom door and goes to investigate, only to watch a door creep open on its own. Slow, deliberate, and with no one behind it. The smoothness of the movement makes it even more disturbing to witness. Shortly after, objects on the vanity begin tumbling off by themselves. He says he's been actively searching for a new place to stay, but admits that finding one hasn't been easy. Herb Explores is a social media account dedicated to visiting haunted and abandoned places. The two friends who run it were out documenting a remote forest, far from any nearby town, when they stumbled upon a strange opening in the ground. True to their nature as urban explorers, they recognized an opportunity for compelling content and decided to climb down and investigate. What they discovered was completely unexpected. The hole opened into a twisting network of underground tunnels. They lost their bearings almost immediately, and before long they had no idea how to get back to where they started. For hours they wandered through the darkness in a growing state of panic, desperately searching for the way out. They eventually made it back to the surface, but not before their camera captured some deeply unsettling things. Children's clothing lay scattered across the tunnel floor, and if that alone wasn't enough to send chills down your spine, something else showed up in the footage shortly after they entered, something neither of the explorers noticed while they were down there. When the video is slowed down, viewers claim they can make out a figure with dark hair, a ghostly pale face, and glowing red eyes. The figure appears to spot the explorers before seemingly dissolving into the shadows. As for the tunnel walls themselves, nobody quite knows what to make of any of it. Not the viewers, and certainly not the explorers. Part of them wants to return to that mysterious hole in the forest to get some real answers, but right now, they're simply not ready to go back. A group of friends finds themselves stopped on a road completely consumed by darkness. All is silent until unsettling sounds begin closing in from every direction, prompting one of them to pull out a camera and start recording.
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck was... What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck was...
Something takes shape in the dark. It resembles a shadow, yet the way it moves doesn't quite add up. Almost feral, almost instinctual, it slides across the ground on limbs that look all wrong, completely out of proportion. The person who uploaded the footage describes the location as entirely deserted. No vegetation, no buildings, nothing. Just a pitch black stretch of road that nobody in their right mind would walk down after dark. So if it isn't a human being, what exactly is out there moving through the shadows? Honestly, we may never find out. Recently, a community near Washington in the United States found itself at the center of a deeply unsettling incident. Residents were jolted awake in the middle of the night by disturbing noises descending from above, and what made it even more alarming was the bizarre and unexplained sight that lit up the sky. Something so striking that dozens of locals managed to capture it on camera. Judge for yourself what they saw.
Oh my dude, I wish I had a better camera. Do you have a good camera?
Not really.
Look at this, my camera's.
Yeah, it's fuzzy.
Yeah, unless I go far away.
Actually, just stay still and push on the parts that aren't dark.
Dude, that shit is f***ing tripping me out.
It's a lot of smoke.
The phone doesn't even do it justice of what we're seeing.
Oh, there's another one.
Yeah, they're falling out of the sky. Look, that one's just sitting there.
I mean, you see how it lights up.
The imagery is genuinely chilling, almost as though an enormous wall of fire was plummeting down from the heavens. So far, no rational explanation has been put forward to account for what happened, though one theory has been gaining traction, that the phenomenon may have some connection to extraterrestrial life and alien vessels. This guy was just putting an AI application to the test. One that, according to its developers, can read a person's traits and personal details simply by scanning their face in real time. At first glance, the footage looked like nothing more than a routine tech demo, but then something completely unexpected happened that transformed it into one of the most unsettling clips he'd ever posted online. See for yourself what unfolded. As he walks viewers through the app's features, the closet door directly behind him gradually swings open by itself. But that's not even the most disturbing part. What really stops people in their tracks comes shortly after, when the app appears to lock onto a presence somewhere in the room and pulls up an analysis describing what seems to be an incredibly old woman who appears visibly distressed. The moment he clocks what's showing on the screen, his entire demeanor shifts. The unease hits him instantly, and within seconds, he cuts the recording dead. No explanation was given, yet the clip spread across the internet at lightning speed, setting off a wave of theories. Some viewers are convinced the app somehow picked up on something completely invisible to the human eye. Others insist it was nothing more than an AI glitch, misreading shadows, reflections, or random visual noise as a human face. But where do you stand on this? Was it just a technical hiccup at the absolute worst moment? Or did that app actually detect something in that room that had no business being there? In our next clip, a woman by the name of Anisha claims that during the late hours of one night, she captured something on camera that left her absolutely terrified. The lights in the background appear to be flickering before a sudden bright flash. But pause right there, because did you catch that? Clear as day, the outline of a young boy is visible for just a split second, seemingly gazing upward. But deep in the night, somewhere inside a quiet family home, a woman hears something that stops her cold and draws her toward the dark. It sounds like her daughter's voice, small and frightened, coming from somewhere no child should be. She follows the sound to a low, narrow opening cut into the base of the wall, the kind of crawlspace gap that already feels deeply wrong before anything even happens. And the family dog is already stationed there, rigid, refusing to move, barking furiously at whatever is lurking inside.
Mom, please help me!
Leah! How did you get down there? You were supposed to be in bed.
Then, from somewhere beyond that opening, the childlike voice drifts out. Mom, please help me.
Leah!
Mom, please help me!
Leah!
On its own, that is disturbing enough to make your skin crawl. But what briefly emerges from the darkness is something far more unsettling. A pale, elongated face suddenly lunges into frame. stretched and unnatural, with hollow black voids where eyes should be and almost nothing recognizable as human. Where a mouth ought to be, there is only a thin, dark line. It flashes into view, then disappears, almost too quickly to process. The dog never settles, the woman never steps forward, and everyone who watched the footage immediately noticed the same detail. Whatever that face belonged to, it was not human. So was that truly her daughter calling out from inside the wall, or was something else entirely using that voice to draw her in closer? As always. This next clip was posted to Capria Car's YouTube channel back in January of 2013. In the video, the person filming explains that he's in his parents' bedroom together with his cousin Braden, his cousin Benton, and his brother Carson. He tells us they've been watching the rocking chair in that room move on its own, but no one has been taking them seriously. They also mention that the house is empty apart from the four of them. There's no one else around. At that point, the boys start speaking directly to what they suspect might be a spirit, asking it to give the chair a push. For a moment, nothing moves, but then, a few seconds later...
Is it moving a little bit?
Oh my gosh. It is. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, man, that's so creepy. Why do we have to stand here? Oh.
Wait, hold on, wait. Somebody go see if somebody's behind there.
I will. How do we have to do this? Oh, no, it's behind there. Oh,
Let me
gosh.
see. Let me get it on camera.
Oh, gosh.
Look, it is moving. And nobody's back there.
I'm so scared.
And plus, you can see in the mirror. Nobody's standing behind there while it's moving. Oh, it's slowing down now. Is it gonna do it anymore for us?
Slowly but surely, the rocking chair starts rocking on its own. Most of the boys are so shaken that they bolt out of the room, yelling about how scared they are. And if you look carefully at the mirror's reflection, there's clearly no one standing behind the chair. The fact that it responds right after being spoken to is what gets under so many viewers' skin. Some people take this as evidence of a spirit making its presence known through physical interaction, particularly because the motion only begins once the boys make their request and no one appears to be anywhere near it. Others lean toward a more rational explanation, suggesting the chair could have been pulled with a thin piece of fishing line or string kept just outside the shot, something easy to miss in grainy older footage. Even so, setup or not, a rocking chair stirring on its own in what looks like an empty room is the kind of thing that leaves most people with a chill they can't quite shake. Kyle was just out on a casual explore, wandering through an abandoned property and recording a quick walkthrough to show his partner when he got back. He figured he'd find dusty old furniture, maybe some forgotten junk, the usual kind of thing you'd expect from a place like that. But the second he crossed the threshold, something felt wrong, and the footage he captured backs that instinct up completely.
For work. This needs to stop. I need help, please. Going to explore it later.
Right from the opening moments of the recording, there it is. A black cat sitting perfectly still in the middle of the empty house, just staring. That alone is enough to raise the hairs on the back of your neck, because animals instinctively avoid places like this. They don't settle in them. Then, a door nearby starts violently shaking with absolutely nothing. No wind, no draft, no explanation to account for it. But things are about to get a whole lot stranger. Later that same evening, Kyle's partner sent him footage from their own home showing a door rattling on its own, and a doll that had been clearly visible earlier in the day had simply disappeared without a trace. Whatever Kyle disturbed inside that abandoned house, it didn't stay behind when he left. Woman from Thailand, well known for her visits to paranormal sites, Aruhets makes her way to a decrepit old wooden house standing in isolation. The property sits far outside any populated area, and the people who live nearby regard it as somewhere nobody dares to go after dark. Armed with nothing more than a dim light source, she makes her way through the entrance and records each room as she goes. With every step further in, the silence deepens and the air around her grows increasingly eerie.
ถึงแล้ว บ้านครูนาฏศิลป์นะคะ มีเหมือนเสียงคนเดินด้านบน เดี๋ยวนะ อะไรอ่ะ มันคืออะไรอ่ะ เฮ้ยหัวคนนี่หัวคนจำได้ไหมทุกคนโลนี้ เหมือนสังกะสีปิวไปอ่ะเฮ้ยไอ้ที่ขาคนขาห้อยลงมาขาห้อยลงมาเลยขาห้อยลงมาเลยทุกคนกดรีโพสต์ให้หน่อยนะคะใช่โลนี้แหละใช่ทุกคนช่วยรีโพสต์นะคะอย่าให้เกิดเหตุการณ์อย่างนั้นอีกช่วยกันรีโพสต์ให้เราหน่อยนะคะพี่กดแชร์กดรีโพสต์เป็นกำลังใจให้หน่อยนะคะโอ้ยวันหนึ่ง 1,600 ท่านนะคะ
While the camera sweeps across one corner of the structure, a figure abruptly materializes. What appears to be an inverted head with a darkened face, seemingly staring straight at her. The whole thing happens in a split second, and the mood shifts instantly into something deeply frightening. She lets out a scream and stumbles backward, convinced that whatever she glimpsed was far beyond anything human. That brief piece of footage has never stopped generating conversation, and many regard it as one of the most chilling things ever recorded on a nighttime paranormal outing. The following video was recorded approximately 3:29 in the morning by a security camera overlooking an outdoor swimming pool. The footage is silent, shot in infrared night vision, the water sitting dark and completely still. The lounge chairs lined up empty along the deck, nothing moving anywhere in the frame. Watch. A bright, semi-transparent shape materializes directly over the center of the pool, vaguely humanoid with a defined head and torso, and drifts slowly across the water's surface, shimmering and distorting as it moves, casting a faint reflection on the dark water below. Then the camera glitches, flashes a strange circular distortion, cuts to black for a split second, and when it comes back, the figure is completely gone. If you focus on the way it moves, it's not the erratic scatter of an insect near the lens. It drifts with a kind of slow, deliberate weight. Some viewers think the glitch and the disappearance happening at the exact same moment is too convenient to be coincidence, as if whatever it was didn't leave, it took the camera out with it. What do you think was floating over that pool at 3 in the morning? The following video is about a family in Mexico who have been dealing with relentless paranormal activity inside their home. Not the kind that builds slowly over weeks, but the kind that hits hard and doesn't stop. Night after night, something in this house makes itself known, and the man filming, who goes by Amoroso Max, has made it his habit to grab his phone the moment things start happening. On this particular night, it starts with knocking. Loud, rapid, aggressive banging with no clear source. The kind that fills the whole lower floor and seems to come from everywhere at once. His wife is already awake, sitting up in bed with their child beside her, her expression making it clear this isn't the first time they've been pulled out of sleep by something they can't explain. He tells her to stay put and heads downstairs alone, whispering into the dark, trying to find where it's coming from. Watch.
de nuevo. ¿Escuchaste? No te vayas a asomar, quédate aquí. Eres. No me quiero asomar. No me quiero asomar. No mames, cabrón, ¿qué es eso? No mames, cabrón. Oh.
What he finds down there is genuinely terrifying. A pale, hollow-eyed face appearing briefly in the upper pane of the door before he screams and runs. Many believe what appeared at that window fits the description of what some paranormal communities call a watcher, a presence that doesn't enter but observes, testing boundaries before something worse follows. The activity doesn't end there. Another night, the same house, the same man, but this time the threat comes to the door. Watch.
Tranquila, ¿Qué quieres? Oye, ¿escuchas? ¿Qué quieres? No te voy a abrir. No te voy a abrir. Calma la niña. Tranquila, mami. No te voy a abrir. Vete. Oye, no manches, ¿viste? Vete. Esto es impresionante. Lárgate, lárgate de aquí. No te voy a abrir, lárgate. Lárgate. Tú no perteneces aquí. Vete.
Standing on the other side is something using his wife's voice, calling him by name, begging to be let in, while his wife stands right there in the room behind him, holding their daughter, watching with wide eyes. He refuses to open the door and tells it to leave, and that's when the voice stops sounding human entirely, dropping into a deep guttural growl before going silent. This is a pattern that appears repeatedly in paranormal reports across Latin America and elsewhere, an entity that mimics a familiar voice to get someone to open a door, a window, or lower their guard. Some researchers who study these cases believe this behavior is consistent with what's traditionally called a nagual in certain Mesoamerican belief systems, a shape-shifting or voice-stealing presence associated with deception and spiritual intrusion. Others apply the more familiar label of a mimic, a broader term used in online paranormal communities to describe any entity that copies human voices or appearances without fully understanding what makes them convincing. What's harder to explain is the transformation. A recording glitch doesn't go from a woman's voice to something that sounds like that. If you listen to the moment the voice changes, it's not a cut. It's a slide, a degradation, like whatever was holding the imitation together simply gave up. Then comes a third night. This time the family is together watching television when a sound drifts in from the dark hallway. something that resembles a child's cry, high-pitched and distressed, coming from a space where no child should be. Listen closely.
No manches, están escuchando como la niña, mira. Mira, escucha bien. Estamos viendo la televisión, miren. No es muy tarde, pero la verdad sí. No mames, güey. No mames, cabrón, qué pedo, güey. Eras tú, Ceci. Era toda tu cara, Ceci. Yo no sé si grabaría bien, pero si eras tú. Están cerrados los cuartos, ¿verdad? ¿Qué dices aquí arriba? Ve con los niños, Ceci, ve con los niños. Ve a cerrar. Ya no podemos ni estar viendo una película, papá.
A figure who, according to him, looks like his wife was at the doorway. He grabs the camera and moves through the dark room, past a baby stroller and a rocking horse, up the narrow stairs, checking each closed door. Nothing. The rooms are all shut. Nothing is out of place, and yet that sound came from somewhere. What strikes people who followed this family across multiple videos is the escalation. It went from knocking, to a face at the window, to something using a human voice, and now to something that looks like his wife. Susie says it plainly near the end of the clip. They can't even watch a normal movie anymore. And she's right. What starts as a disturbance has become a presence that follows them through every room, every hour of the night, and whatever it is, it seems to know exactly which sounds will make them move. So what does something like that want? The following videos were recorded by the same man, someone who's been quietly documenting strange activity inside his garage and utility closet for weeks now, going back through old footage and realizing just how much he'd already missed. In the first clip, he pulls up a recording from weeks earlier and replays it for the camera, zooming in and slowing it down so you can see exactly what he almost overlooked. Watch.
So I don't know what made me miss this in a video, but I just went back and rewatched a video from weeks ago, and I just saw something that absolutely blew my mind, and I don't know how this happened. That fell down, and that black arm or whatever that was retracted this way that quickly. Where would it have gone? How could that even come from this direction? I know plenty of people said in the comments, what is that thing? What is that? I didn't really look at it until now. If I were to have dropped that down with something and maybe lifted it back up, there's no way that it would have retracted this way. What type of tool or instrument could have done that? Yo, how did I miss that? And like always, she's not coming in here. This place isn't right.
As the box falls from inside the cluttered utility closet, a long, dark, limb-like shape rapidly retracts to the left and disappears behind the wooden shelving, moving with a speed and direction that he insists no tool or instrument could account for. He traces the path with his hand, pointing out that whatever it was moved horizontally into solid structure, with no logical exit point. His dog, visible through the open doorway, refuses to come inside, just lies in the yard, watching the building from a distance. That detail alone keeps coming up in cases like this. Animals don't perform for cameras, and she'd apparently never been comfortable there. Some viewers think the dark shape is simply an object falling and casting a shadow, but others point to what looks like a defined tip, almost finger-like, before it vanishes, and argue that no falling object produces that kind of directed lateral movement. The second clip takes place in the same garage, this time in broad daylight, with sunlight streaming through the glass pane door. He walks in to grab his weed eater, works on it, pulls the cord a few times until the engine catches, then heads back outside. Listen closely.
Video you're about to see now is when I walk into the shed, I grab my weed eater, I start taking care of the backyard, and this is what you hear the second I walk out. I feel like I can hear something when I'm in there, but when I walk out is when it really amps up.
While he's still in the room, low, distorted, guttural sounds run underneath the ordinary noise of him moving around, barely audible, easy to dismiss. But the moment he steps outside and the room goes empty, something changes. A sharp bang rings out, and then, for roughly 15 seconds, a deep and modulated growl fills the space, rising and falling in pitch, complex in tone, nothing like a mechanical sound or an animal. He says he didn't hear any of it while he was standing right there. That's the part that's hard to shake. In EVP research, sounds captured on recording equipment that weren't heard in person are considered among the more compelling forms of audio evidence. The idea being that certain frequencies register on microphones but fall outside normal human perception. Skeptics will argue the audio is edited in, but the security camera footage, static, wide angle, no cuts, makes that harder to dismiss cleanly. Whatever is inside that building seems to be most active the moment it thinks no one is listening. Now in this next clip, the footage comes from a home where the resident claims something has been imitating familiar, everyday sounds, and according to him, it isn't the first time it's happened. By the time this recording begins, he's already suspicious enough to have his phone ready, because the noises seem to follow a pattern. Watch. From the darkness at the bottom of the staircase, he begins hearing what sounds exactly like his ringtone. The problem is that his phone is already in his hand. According to him, there is no second phone in the house making the sound, leading him to believe that whatever he's dealing with is attempting to lure him downstairs by reproducing a noise it knows he would instinctively respond to. And if that wasn't unsettling enough, the activity reportedly continued. In a second clip, the same presence appears to try a different approach. Watch closely. This time, the sound isn't a ringtone, it's his alarm, a noise specifically designed to demand attention. Many paranormal enthusiasts believe this kind of behavior fits perfectly within modern reports of mimic phenomena. Unlike traditional ghost stories where apparitions simply appear, mimic encounters often revolve around manipulation. Witnesses frequently report hearing their names called, familiar voices speaking from empty rooms, babies crying where no child exists, phones ringing when they are not, or footsteps that seem designed to lure someone toward a specific location. Some folklore traditions go even further, warning against immediately responding to unexplained calls, whistles, or voices heard from darkness, particularly if the source cannot be identified. The belief was that certain entities gain influence by encouraging interaction, drawing attention first, then gradually escalating their attempts to be noticed. For now, he says he's actively searching for ways to get rid of whatever he believes is in the house, hoping to put an end to the disturbances before they escalate any further. But until he shares another update, one question remains. If it can imitate the sounds he expects to hear, what happens when it starts imitating the voices he trusts? The following video is about Nate, someone many viewers already recognize for the strange and often unsettling activity that seems to follow him wherever he goes. Over time, people began pointing something out to him, that he might be giving whatever it is too much attention, and that constantly reacting to it could actually be making things worse. So he decided to try something different. He started ignoring it. No reactions, no engagement, just going about his day like nothing was there. But that didn't last long because one morning, this happened. Watch.
Alright. So you people tell me to ignore things, so... Tell me what the fuck that is. I have... things going on in here and in the bathroom right above me, or some upstairs above me at the same time. But, you know, I'll just ignore it. And it's not as simple as people think. Unless people experience these things, then it's not as easy as just ignoring it when this shit happens to you. I'm working on it.
Once again, you can hear faint whispers in the background, unclear but definitely there. And what makes this moment even more unsettling is that just seconds before he started recording, the cabinet where the cup falls from was completely closed. Moments like this are why many believe that attention plays a role in these situations. Some say that reacting to activity can strengthen whatever is causing it, almost like feeding it energy, but others argue the opposite, that ignoring it doesn't make it go away, it just makes it find other, more aggressive ways to be noticed. And for Nate, it doesn't stop at home, because as much as he deals with this inside his house, his workplace isn't any different. Watch this.
All right. Good morning, ghosts. Happy Friday to you guys, too. Well, I don't really see anything out of place or kind of... Everything looks... Oh. I could feel that. I could feel that. Did I offend you by saying good morning? That's different. All right, I take back the good morning then. Oh, okay. We're gonna do this now. I take back good morning then. Jesus Christ. Well, now the knocking on the walls has started once again. Just figure out, turn the camera on and see if I can catch it, because I mean it was every wall. Like, and it's inside because when it did it on this wall, this and the chains were slightly swaying. So that tells me I wish I can understand what whatever this is wanted.
At the cemetery where he works, something can be heard bang against the walls of the garage over and over again. Not random noises, but heavy, deliberate impacts, like something trying to get his attention from the other side. Some believe this could be tied to the environment itself. Cemeteries are often associated with residual energy, places where emotions, grief, and history linger. Others think it could be something more direct, something that may have attached itself to Nate, following him between locations. And then there's one of the strangest things he's come across at work. Watch.
We have this morning. Just one. No other ones. Just one single claw print or weird handprint. Fingers are super long. They look a little sharp on the edge, like small scratches underneath. And there is it's almost like it was jumping up there, but I don't see anything.
On the floor, there's a deep claw-like marks, just one, as if something appeared, dragged across the surface once, and vanished. Some viewers even claim to hear whispers toward the end of the clip, though no one could clearly make out what was being said. So what could leave a mark like that? This one remains unsolved. In this next video, a father shares an experience that completely changed the way he sees his own home. For some time, there had been small things he couldn't fully explain, moments where he thought he heard movement late at night, or faint sounds coming from parts of the house that should have been empty. Nothing too obvious, just enough to make him uneasy, but not enough to convince himself something was wrong, until one night, he suddenly woke up to the sound of his son crying, not a soft whimper, but the kind of crying that makes you get up immediately. Without thinking twice, he rushed out of his room to check on him, but something didn't feel right, so he decided to check the camera. Watch closely.
No. Good.
No.
You can hear it clearly, a child crying, but then something else happens. A figure moves past, and for a brief moment, it looks like the shape of a child. Yet, something about it feels off. The movement isn't natural, the timing doesn't match the crying, and the presence itself feels separate from the sound. And this is where things start to get really disturbing. Because when he finally checked on his son was fine. Not crying, not awake, just sleeping. Which raises a terrifying possibility. Some viewers believe this could be a case of something imitating familiar sounds to draw attention, possibly to lure someone out of their room. It's a theory often mentioned in cases where voices or cries are heard, but don't match any real person in the house. Others think it could be a shadow figure manifesting briefly, using sound and movement together to make its presence known. But whatever it was, it knew exactly what would get his attention. So if that wasn't his son crying, then what was it? I'll let you be the judge. Now, in this next clip, Isaac, the man living in that old property with 2 haunted sheds, a place already known for strange activity that seems to grow worse over time, shares an update on his current situation. On this particular day, Isaac was doing a live stream, going about things normally, when a strange sound suddenly caught his attention. It wasn't loud, but it was enough to make him stop mid-sentence and go check it out. Watch this.
Y'all heard it too? Y'all heard it too? Because I know I heard something. I know I'm not going crazy. I'm standing right here with y'all. I'm standing right here with y'all. My hands. I'm standing right here with y'all. Just burn the whole house at this point. I can't, they ain't got nowhere to live. Oh. Ah. Ooh. Ow. Oh. Hit my leg. I hit my knee so bad. Oh my God, that hurt. Oh.
Isaac had previously explained that this room used to belong to the grandfather who owned the land, and according to family members, he always preferred warm temperatures. It was something very specific about him, something only people close to him would know. And just to rule out any easy explanations, Isaac made it clear during the live stream that the other remote was in the living room, and the remotes don't control each other, something he had tested before when he once misplaced one of them. So if no one was in the room, and no remote was being used, then what turned it on? Some viewers believe this could be the grandfather's presence, something familiar, almost routine, repeating what he used to do when he was alive. But others aren't so convinced because what happens next changes the tone completely. Tired of everything happening around him, Isaac eventually decided to bless the house, and for a few days, things were quiet. Almost too quiet until this happened. Watch.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Like I said, I've left the living room and I've officially moved into the bedroom now, and it's what the hell? Well, well, I was gonna say, that it's been pretty calm all day. Somebody did ask me if they blessed the sheds, and the answer is no. They actually didn't. For some reason, my landlord was pretty adamant about leaving the sheds alone. We did the furthest one where the memorial is, but the one near the house and the one with the car in it, she was absolutely adamant that that would not be blessed, that would not be touched, and so we didn't touch it. I didn't ask any questions. Her reaction wasn't like mean or anything. She was just like, yeah, I don't like that's not a good idea. Almost kind of like, nah, just leave it alone type of thing. So, I mean, other than that, it's been a really good day. It's been a really damn good day, to be perfectly honest with you. Why are my windows so foggy? Look at this. Look how foggy my windows are. Look, these too. Can you even see it? I don't even know if you can see it. It's like mad condensation. Why is there so much condensation on my flipping window? I didn't run. Yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say, to be perfectly honest with you, but guess I'll go ahead and finish getting ready for work. Watching Wicked while I get dressed. Alright, talk to you later.
A door suddenly closes on its own, the light shuts off, and for those listening closely with headphones, some claim they can hear a faint voice saying, "Go away," and that's what really unsettled people, because if that voice is real, then whatever is there doesn't just exist, it has intent. Some viewers believe this might be a reaction to the blessing itself. There's a theory that if a space is only partially cleansed, whatever is there can simply move to the uncleansed areas, and in Isaac's case, that would be the sheds. And there's another layer to this. Isaac mentioned he wasn't allowed to cleanse the sheds, which raises a disturbing possibility. If something is tied to those sheds, and you cleanse only the house, then you're not removing it, you're cornering it. And according to many who study these cases, that can make whatever's there more aggressive. So now the question is, was that the grandfather making his presence known? Or was it something else entirely? Something that doesn't want Isaac on that property anymore? You decide. In the following video, a man named Moses and his family were on their way home one evening when his daughter insisted they stop by a small playground near their house. It was a simple request, just a few minutes to play before heading in. Reluctantly, he agreed. The kid played, laughed, and enjoyed the quiet moment. But as time passed, something about the place began to feel off. The kind of uneasiness you can't explain, like being watched without seeing anyone. Then, just as they were about to leave, Moses saw it clearly. Someone was there, hiding. He turned his camera toward a nearby tree and started calling out, asking whoever was there to show themselves. And then, it did. Watch.
No te vas a golpear en la resbaladilla cuando te bajes.
¿Me bajo?
Sí.
Ah.
¡Ey, Dana! Mira, fíjate. Dana, ven. Vengan para acá. Mira, cheque, a ver, miren el árbol aquel. No, la neta, te lo juro que yo miraba algo. Como que se asomaba. A ver, venga.
Ya me dio miedo.
No, es que yo miré algo, neta. No pasa nada. No, mi amor, no pasa nada, ven. No era nada, ven. ¿Qué?
¿Qué es?
No sé, no. Irga, sí se miró. ¡Hey! ¿Quién está ahí? Yo sí miré, alcancé a ver algo. Mira, ¿te checaste? ¿Viste? A ver. Oh, mira.
¿Qué es eso? Ay, no.
¡Hey! ¡Lujo! ¡Asómate!
Something peeks from behind the tree, not once, but twice, just enough to confirm that they weren't alone. At that moment, the family didn't wait to find out more. They quickly left, trying to brush it off with nervous laughter as they walked away. But after posting the video, the comments made things worse. People began sharing their own experiences about that same playground, especially after sunset. Some claimed they had seen figures standing near the trees, watching silently until noticed. Others described hearing footsteps behind them with no one there, or catching glimpses of something ducking out of sight the moment they turned to look. A few even said the place feels completely normal during the day, but changes the moment it starts getting dark, as if something else uses that space when no one is supposed to be there. So what was hiding behind that tree? For now, this one remains a mystery. In this next video, Chris and his wife are trying to finally settle an argument that's been going on for a long time. Both of them have been experiencing strange things in their home, but they don't agree on what's causing it. Chris leans toward logical explanations. Faulty wiring, loose fixtures, anything that can be explained. His wife, on the other hand, believes there's something else in the house, something they can't see but can definitely feel. So to settle it once and for all, they installed cameras everywhere. One night, while they were asleep, the cameras caught this. Watch. the stove turns on by itself, as if someone physically turned it on. Up until this point, many viewers believed the activity in their home might be tied to something harmless, possibly even a child's spirit, especially based on earlier clips where objects were lightly moved or knocked over. But after seeing this, people started to think differently, because this isn't just movement, this is dangerous, something that could have easily caused a fire. And that's why some believe this might not be something playful or harmless anymore, but something more aggressive, something with intent. And for a while, all the activity seemed to center around one place, the kitchen. Take a look at this. This doesn't look like it slipped, looks like something deliberately pushed it. According to Chris, this has become part of their daily routine. They go to bed with everything in place and wake up to the kitchen in complete disarray, cabinets disturbed, items out of place, forcing them to clean up every single morning. At this point, it's no longer about whether something is happening, it's about what is doing it and why the kitchen. What do you think? The following video dates back to 2024 and was captured by a family's security camera on a quiet Sunday night at around 9 p.m., a time when nothing unusual would normally be expected, especially inside a home where everyone is settled in for the evening. That sense of normalcy, however, is interrupted when the woman's son goes into the kitchen to make himself a cup of coffee, a simple routine that quickly turns into something far more unsettling. Not long after, he rushes back to her room, visibly shaken, his face pale and his voice unsteady, insisting that he heard someone call his name, not faintly or from a distance, but clearly enough to make him respond, even though no one in the house had called out to him. Within seconds, the CCTV system sends a notification, motion detected in the living room, despite the fact that no one is supposed to be there. Naturally, they check the footage, expecting to find something ordinary, something explainable, but instead, they see this watch. The camera itself begins to move, as though it is tracking something. Then, without warning, the scooter seat snaps shut with force. Some viewers pointed out that in the initial footage, while the sound is clear, the movement itself is difficult to fully see, raising questions about whether it could be a technical issue or a trick of perspective. But then, they shared another angle. Watch. This time, the movement becomes harder to dismiss, reinforcing the idea that something is interacting with the environment. After this incident, the family decides to bless the house, taking steps to cleanse the space and restore a sense of safety. And for a while, it seems to work, as the disturbances stop and life returns to normal, or at least something close to it. But nearly 2 years later, on March 17th, 2026, at around 2 a.m. when everyone in the house is asleep, something happens again. Watch. The bike was stationary and untouched, so how did this happen? The family is beginning to think that whatever may have been present before didn't fully leave, but instead remained dormant, quiet for a long period before making itself known again. Now the family is left questioning whether what they experienced years ago has returned, or whether there is another explanation that is yet to be uncovered. Because when something disappears and then reappears after such a long silence, it creates the unsettling possibility that it was never truly gone, only waiting for the right moment to be noticed again. But you be the judge. In this next clip, a woman is home alone, going about something as routine as doing the dishes when she suddenly begins to hear strange knocking sounds coming from another part of the house. But when she looks around, everything appears normal. No movement and no sign of anyone being there. Still unsettled, she decides to take an extra step, setting up a camera in the living room before heading back to the kitchen, almost as if she anticipates that whatever made the noise might happen again, but this time she wants proof. A few minutes later, the camera captures this. Watch.
Okay, I'm so crazy, right? Here you go. Baby's terrified. Hold on. I know. You're okay. You're okay. I know.
For a long time, these events remained unexplained, disconnected pieces of a pattern she couldn't fully understand until she eventually traced it back to something she had almost forgotten about. A necklace she purchased back in 2011 from an estate sale, something she initially saw as just a unique vintage piece. The necklace carried unfamiliar symbols, details she didn't think much of at the time, but later came to learn were associated with a figure known for occult rituals and darker spiritual practices, giving the object a context she hadn't considered when she first brought it into her home. Some viewers have pointed out that in many beliefs, objects linked to rituals or symbolic practices are not always the source, but sometimes just a medium. Something that allows access rather than containing it, which raises a more unsettling possibility that removing the object may not necessarily remove whatever became attached through it. Now, in this next video, a family documents a series of escalating events inside their home, compiling multiple incidents over time to show just how far things have progressed. And what stands out immediately is not just the activity itself, but the pattern, because each new experience appears more intense than the last. as though whatever is behind it is becoming more comfortable, more direct, and far less subtle in how it makes its presence known. Have a look. At different points, the activity takes on different forms. Sometimes it's objects being thrown with force, like a knife suddenly moving in a way that clearly isn't accidental. Other times, it's voices echoing through the house when no one is speaking, or lights behaving unpredictably, flickering or reacting without any clear electrical cause. Viewers believe this may not be a simple haunting, but something more aggressive, like a demon. And this raises a deeper question. How do demons find their way into homes? Some believe it can begin with seemingly small actions, bringing in objects with unknown histories, engaging with rituals or practices without full understanding, or even repeated acknowledgement of unexplained activity, which in certain beliefs is thought to strengthen whatever is there. Others suggest that prolonged emotional stress or conflict within a space can create an environment that attracts or amplifies negative presence, turning the home itself into a place where that energy can settle and grow. So, whether you see this as something explainable or something far more serious, one thing becomes clear. Being mindful of what you bring into your space, what you engage with, and what you choose to ignore may matter more than it seems. Because once something crosses that threshold, getting it to leave may not be nearly as simple as keeping it out in the first place. So, beware. A family who had just moved into a new apartment begins to notice small things that don't quite add up. The kind of details that are easy to brush off at first, but become harder to ignore the more often they happen. It starts with subtle disturbances, objects not being where they were left, faint sounds late at night that seem to come from empty rooms, and moments where the air feels strangely heavy, as though the space hasn't quite settled into being lived in yet. Over time, these incidents begin to form a pattern, one that the family can no longer dismiss as coincidence, especially after experiencing multiple events that feel increasingly difficult to explain. By the time this recording is made, they refer to it as the third major incident they've captured, almost as if they've reached a point where they expect something to happen rather than hope it won't. Watch.
See, it's still happening. Honestly, this is all the time. Whoa, Jesus. The cat scared the shit out of me. Rory, you were really scaring the shit out of me. I know Rory didn't do that. What the f is going on? What the f happened, Rory?
Your first thought is airflow from a vent, but how do you explain the door? What adds to the tension is the fact that he was completely alone at the time, removing any immediate explanation tied to another person's presence. When activities begin shortly after moving into a new space, it may not be something newly introduced, but something that was already there, something tied to the environment rather than the people who now occupy it. And when each new incident builds on the last, becoming more noticeable, more physical, and harder to dismiss, it creates a growing sense that whatever is causing it is not random. But until more updates are shared, what exactly is behind these disturbances remains unclear. The following video is about a man named Jorge, who for some time has been dealing with recurring shadow figures and a series of deeply unsettling events that, at first, seemed limited to his surroundings. Objects shifting slightly out of place, brief shapes appearing at the edge of his vision, and an ongoing feeling that he was not alone, even when there was no one else physically present. There was also a moment that raised even more concern, when he began acting in a way he could not later recall, behavior that others described as completely unlike him, leaving him dependent on his own security footage to understand what had taken place, as if there were periods of time where he was present, but not fully in control. And now, this is what he's dealing with. Watch.
Guys, I was getting ready to go to sleep and I just heard a door slam. Shut loud. I just heard a door slam. Oh, shit! Oh no. Somebody's there. In the name of the Son and the Holy Spirit, I ask every demon, I command every demon to leave the house right now. I command in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, leave the house now. In the name of the in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I ask you to leave this house now. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. You are not welcome in this home. You are not welcome in this home. This is the house of... There's a door slamming and people screaming. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
At first, the door slammed, then he felt something move past him. Some interpretations suggest that when activity progresses from external disturbances to direct influence on a person's physical state and awareness, it may indicate a deeper level of attachment, something that is no longer confined to the environment alone. Others believe that the presence of shadow-like movement, especially when it appears to move quickly and deliberately, can be associated with entities that do not fully manifest, but still retain the ability to interact with both space and perception. For now, what Jorge is experiencing continues without a clear explanation or resolution, and until more information comes to light, this case remains one of those situations where the pieces are visible, the pattern is forming, but the full picture is still just out of reach. Now this next video was captured by Jennifer, who owns a beautiful historic home dating all the way back to 1907, a place filled with carefully preserved antique pieces, some of which date even earlier to around 1903. giving the house a sense of history that feels both rich and, at times, a little too present. At first glance, everything about the home appears warm and inviting, the kind of place that reflects elegance and character rather than anything unsettling. However, after speaking with a local historian, Jennifer learned something that added a different layer to that history, that when the house was first built, there were no nearby hospitals, and as a result, it is believed that at least 4 people passed away inside the home itself, a detail that, while not unusual for the time period, begins to take on a different meaning when paired with what she starts experiencing. On this particular day, while cleaning the second floor, she begins to hear something. Listen closely.
Hearing some noises upstairs. Emily went home. I'm cleaning. I usually clean on Saturdays. I feel like when I clean, hear that. And then I hear noises upstairs. Just heard it speaking also, like a voice, but the noises in the upstairs are coming from that way. Hear that? Good, I really hope they're cleaning because I could use some help. It's crazy. It's like I hear like a broom being dragged by, or just housekeeper shuffling or something. Obviously the creek. Oh, I just heard some music again.
Before jumping to conclusions, there's a piece of the home's past that many believe could be connected to what's happening. As far back as the 1930s, the family who lived there had a housekeeper named Mildred, and according to stories passed down by previous residents, the house tends to become noticeably more active during the month she passed away, with sounds that resemble someone moving through the rooms, almost as if routine has continued long after it should have ended. To this day, the house remains a place filled with both history and unanswered questions, and whatever presence may still linger within its walls remains a mystery. The following video was shared by a woman who's genuinely searching for answers, hoping that someone out there might recognize the signs of what she's dealing with. For a while now, she's noticed a very specific and unsettling pattern involving her dog. Almost every single day, around the same time, her 6-month-old puppy suddenly starts barking intensely at one exact direction in the house. Not just casual barking, but focused, alert, almost defensive barking. What makes this strange is that about 5 minutes later, he suddenly stops, goes completely quiet, and then immediately looks around for her as if checking whether she noticed it too. This routine has repeated itself night after night, always the same direction, always the same behavior. One evening, she was sitting calmly when her dog climbed onto her lap, chewing on a bone, relaxed and content. Suddenly, this happened. Some believe he could be reacting to subtle sounds we can't hear, like changes in air pressure, pipes, or even wildlife outside the walls. But others weren't convinced, especially because of how consistent the timing is and how focused his attention seems to be. As for solutions, viewers offered a wide range of ideas. Some advised checking the space thoroughly for logical explanations, vents, rodents, or structural noises, just to rule them out. A few suggested cleansing the space, whether spiritually or simply by changing the energy in the room, while many stressed one thing above all else: pay attention to the dog. Because whatever he's reacting to it every night, at the same time, in the same place. And until she figures out why, this situation remains deeply unsettling and very much unexplained. This next clip was recorded inside Selma Mansion in Norristown, Pennsylvania. a location that many locals already avoid after dark. The mansion has long been surrounded by rumors, stories of former residents who never really left, reports of unexplained footsteps echoing through empty hallways, doors slamming on their own, and voices heard coming from rooms no one has entered in years. Some say the upper floors are the worst, especially the third floor, where people claim the air suddenly feels heavier and breathing becomes difficult for no reason. On March 29, 2025, a group of urban explorers decided to investigate the mansion for themselves. Despite knowing its reputation, they went in prepared, setting up multiple cameras throughout the house before settling in for the night. While placing equipment in other areas of the mansion, a loud bang suddenly echoed through the building, sharp enough to stop everyone in their tracks. When they checked the footage, they realized the sound came from the bathroom on the third floor, where one of the cameras had been left running. Watch closely. Skeptics argued it could be old pipes, structural shifts, or even wind, but that explanation doesn't easily account for the voice, the pacing of the footsteps, or the very human-sounding breath caught on audio. And considering this happened on the third floor, an area already known for activity, many believe the explorers may have wandered into a space where whatever lingers there doesn't like being watched. So, was this just the mansion settling? Or did Selma Mansion make it very clear that they weren't alone that night? You decide. In this next video, a man believes he's being tormented by something far more sinister than a simple haunting, something he's convinced is a demon living inside his home. And honestly, after seeing everything he's documented, it's hard not to understand why he feels that way. For months now, he says he'll leave the house for work or errands, only to return and find it completely trashed. Tables flipped upside down, chairs thrown across rooms, kitchen equipment scattered across the floor as if someone deliberately went through the house in a rage. One night, while recording a video to explain what he's been experiencing, things suddenly escalated. Watch this.
Guys, so it's been very horrible. I have been experiencing some non-stop shit. You gotta be kidding me. What the shit? What the is that sound? What the Did I know they not just move? I know that they not just move, y'all. Shit! Oh shit! In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I ask every demon to leave my house immediately. Immediately. I want every demon to leave this house immediately. Immediately. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Leave my house now. The was that? I swear to God, and guys, this is crazy. Swear to God. What the shit! Holy shit! Oh shit! Holy shit! Holy I'm getting the f out of here. No shit.
This isn't subtle movement or quiet noises in the background. When something moves, it moves hard. If it rocks a chair, it does so violently. If it rattles a door, it slams and shakes it with force. Viewers quickly began weighing in with their theories. Some believe this could be a case of a highly aggressive poltergeist feeding off fear and emotional stress. Others argue that the destructive nature, the escalation, and the way the activity responds directly to him speaking points to something darker, possibly a demonic attachment rather than a spirit tied to the house itself. As for solutions, people urged him to stop engaging altogether to avoid provoking whatever it is. Some warned that labeling it a demon could make things worse, but others believe he may already be past that point. So what do you think? Is this truly a demon, or is there another explanation behind the violence in his home? Now, doll collectors are often misunderstood. To most people, collecting dolls sounds harmless, nostalgic, even comforting. But what many don't realize is that some collectors actively seek out dolls with history. Dolls that were loved intensely, abandoned suddenly, passed through multiple owners, or tied to trauma. In this clip, a woman who openly documents her collection of dolls with deep and unsettling backstories shares what happened after acquiring a particularly infamous one. The doll is known as Raggedy Ann Janet, located in the UK and already surrounded by disturbing rumors long before she ever laid eyes on it. Previous owners had reportedly complained about unexplained noises, objects shifting, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched, especially at night. Despite the warnings, she felt drawn to Janet and eventually brought the doll into her home. Almost immediately, she began noticing classic poltergeist-style activity. Objects would move without explanation. Doors creaked open on their own, and the most unsettling part, these events didn't feel random. They felt deliberate, as if something was testing boundaries, pushing limits, and making its presence known. Despite knowing all these, she wanted to confirm.
So Janet's been with us for a few days. Bobby's dropped her off. A few things have been moving around this room lately. Janet, is it you that's doing it? Oh my god, thank you.
For her, the signs were enough. Janet wasn't just another piece in her collection. Something about this doll felt active, aware, and intrusive. And now the question remains, is Janet simply an object carrying residual energy from past owners? Or did bringing her home invite something that was never meant to follow? Either way, the activity surrounding this doll has left viewers deeply unsettled. And until more updates are shared, this case continues to raise an uncomfortable question about how much of the past we unknowingly invite into our homes. This next video is an update from the same man who previously shared how everything in his apartment changed the moment he brought a set of old toys home. Watch closely.
Se sigue escuchando, la verdad ya no soporto estar aquí. Ya no aguanto. ¿Qué será? No hay nada, raza. Esto ya se está saliendo de control, raza. Ya no puedo estar aquí, raza.
As he moves through the apartment trying to locate the source of the noise, a figure is briefly caught on camera. Even though something in him feels like the toys are connected, he wants clearer proof, something undeniable. But viewers say the signs have been there all along. For example, take a look at one of the nights he couldn't sleep at all.
Raza, son las 3 de la mañana, se siguen escuchando muchos ruidos allá afuera. Quieren abrir la puerta, raza. ¿Qué está pasando? Ay, Dios mío. Ay, Dios mío, líbrame del mal. Desde que compré ese espejo, raza. Ay.
What worries him the most is that whatever's in his apartment doesn't seem anchored to a single location. It chooses different areas, almost like it's rotating spots. One night, it was his bedroom. Watch.
Se escucha que están rasguñando abajo de la cama. No hay nadie, Rosa, a la madre. ¿Qué rollo? ¿Qué está pasando?
Something was scratching under his bed, and while some suggested the mirror near his bed could be acting as a trigger, that theory started to fall apart after this next clip surfaced.
Quieren prender la luz, raza. Esto está saliendo de control, raza. No se escucha que le pegan al tanque allá afuera. Esto se está saliendo mucho de control, raza. No sé qué esté pasando, la verdad, raza. Pero a ese tanque le pegan. Ya es el segundo día desde que están pasando estas cosas y alguien que me pueda ayudar, déjenme en los comentarios, por favor. Gente, esto ya se salió de control, gente. Ya no puedo más aquí, gente. Ayuda. ¿Qué quieres? Déjenme en paz. ¿Qué quieres? ¿Quién eres? ¿Quién eres? ¿Qué quieres?
At this point, the activity is no longer subtle. The voice he hears at night is clearer and deeply unsettling. He's reached the point where he locks himself in one part of the apartment at night, afraid of what he might encounter if he walks into another room. And what makes this even more disturbing is the pattern. Whatever's in the apartment seems to choose where it stays. For days it stayed in the kitchen, then it shifted to the laundry room. Now it appears to have claimed the bathroom.
Están tocando la puerta del baño. Desde que compré estos espejos están pasando todas las cosas. Mamá.
He's asking for help, desperately, but most viewers are saying the answer is already right in front of him. Get rid of the dolls. But is it really that simple? Are the dolls the source? Or are they just vessels for something that was already looking for a way in? In this next clip, a woman named Haley set out on what was supposed to be a calm, grounding escape into the Appalachian wilderness, a place known for its beauty, isolation, and deeply rooted folklore. But not long into her walk, something felt off.
I just realized this is like the perfect place to come and sit and smoke. Cause look at this. Sit right here. Hell yeah. This is my view. Y'all, a cigarette right now. I don't even smoke cigarettes, but it warm you up, you know? I'm cold. I felt like there's somebody behind me, but so this is as close as I'm going to get, but y'all can see it's like angled and it goes into the mountain. It doesn't look like it, but it's a little bit more deeper here. My feet would get wet and these shoes, yeah, no, and it's cold. But yeah, I'm about to head out of here because my feelings been, I don't know, it don't feel right now. But yeah, I don't have service. No, this is the worst part about exploring here is when you get like that when you get the feeling that you're being watched or followed. You can't, it's a little bit of a ways to get back to where you came from. Over there.
If you listen carefully, a voice can be heard quietly saying, "Hey, What makes this moment especially unsettling is that the voice sounds disturbingly similar to Hallie's own. At the time she was recording, she didn't hear it at all. Instead, what she felt was something harder to ignore, a sudden sensation that someone was standing directly behind her. In paranormal folklore, especially in Appalachian legends, encounters like this are often linked to something known as a mimic, entities said to imitate human voices to lure people into responding. That's why many believe the worst thing you can do in situations like this is acknowledge the voice, especially out loud. Responding is believed to give whatever's their permission, or at the very least confirmation that you heard it. Some say mimics rely on familiarity, using your own voice or the voice of someone you trust to lower your guard. Others believe they test boundaries first, watching how you react before escalating, and then there are those who think these encounters aren't meant to chase you, but to mark you. So, was this just an audio coincidence paired with anxiety in an isolated place? Or did Hallie narrowly avoid something far more disturbing by trusting her instincts and leaving when she did? I'll leave you to be the judge on this one. The following clips were all recorded inside a French household where a woman has been living alone with her young son and their pets, and where unexplained activity has apparently been building for weeks. The phenomena don't stay in one room, they don't happen at predictable times, and according to the woman, the phenomena seem to be starting again after what she describes as a stretch of quiet. One night, the woman heard a strange sound coming from the boy's empty bedroom while the child was in the living room watching cartoons on a tablet. Even the family cat seemed to hear it. The tabby walked directly toward the dark room, calm but focused, heading somewhere with intent. Watch. Inside the unlit bedroom, a rhythmic banging could be heard coming from somewhere in the darkness, while a teddy bear appeared to move in a way that many viewers later described as unnatural. The camera lingers on the room as the sound continues, making it difficult to tell whether the movement was caused by something ordinary or something else entirely. What unsettled many people most wasn't the toy itself, but the behavior of the cat. Animals are often believed to sense things humans cannot perceive, reacting to sounds, movement, or changes in an environment long before people notice them. And in this footage, the tabby doesn't appear frightened or confused. It walks toward the room without hesitation, as if it already understands something the people behind the camera do not. Some viewers believe the footage captured a genuine paranormal moment. Others argue there may be a logical explanation hidden somewhere in the darkness of the room. But whatever caused the banging that night, one thing is certain. The reaction from the cat is what continues to leave people unsettled. Another incident happened while she was getting ready to shower late at night, and her son was already asleep in his room. She heard something in the hallway, a mechanical rolling and a rhythmic banging against the bathroom door, and when she opened it, she found this. She documented everything methodically. She found the remote control sitting on the stairs, its batteries dead for days. Her son had left it there for her to replace, meaning no one had been operating that truck, and no one in that house was awake to do it anyway. She lives alone with her child and her animals, and she plans to have the house purified, and that in itself tells you how seriously she's taking this. On another night, she woke up again, this time by her child's electronic toy drum set that had switched itself on in her son's bedroom, flashing and playing music while the child slept right through it. Take a look.
À bientôt pour un nouveau concert. À bientôt pour un nouveau concert.
As she moves through the room to shut the toy off, something small and bright moves quickly across the frame near a stack of cardboard boxes. A white orb-shaped light that travels fast and low before disappearing. Skeptics would call it dust or a lens artifact, and that's a reasonable position. Fast-moving specks caught on phone cameras at night are common enough to dismiss. But the toy turning on is the harder thing to rationalize because she says it's not the first time, and her reaction when she opens the door, "Ça recommence?" suggests a woman who's past the point of being surprised and now just exhausted by it. Some people familiar with cases like this point to what's called a poltergeist pattern, a term that comes from the German for noisy ghost, and historically describes phenomena that center around children or households under stress, characterized by objects moving, electronics activating, and escalating disturbances with no clear origin. Whether that framework fits here or not, the toys in this home do seem to have a habit of coming to life on their own. Then, the activity crossed a line. In a later clip, the woman was watching a video on a projector in the dark when she began hearing a series of sharp, unexplained taps coming from somewhere in the room she couldn't identify. Watch closely. A drawer on a small wooden table slid open on its own in front of her, smooth and silent. And then, the moment she turned her back after closing it, the door behind her slammed shut with real force. She gasped, opened the door, turned on the hallway light, and walked toward her son's room to check on him. That's when it escalated completely. A sudden, thunderous barrage of heavy sounds rushed at her from down the hallway, like something charging directly toward her, and the camera fell. The footage ends with the phone on the floor pointing at the ceiling, and the only sound is her breathing, fast, shaking, and ragged. She said that days can go by in this house without anything happening, and then everything hits at once, and that she's not afraid so much as she is worn down by it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because there's a version of the story where the explanation is mundane. Faulty toy batteries, a drafty hallway, an old door latch, and a version where a single mother has been quietly sharing her home with something that's been getting louder. Now, in this next clip, a man decides to explore American cremation after hours, a facility his friend works at, someone who had already warned him that strange things tend to happen around the furnaces when they're in use. He'd gone in knowing the lights shut off automatically at a certain hour, and he walks through the dark space with only his phone's flashlight cutting through the dark, past the heavy metal retorts, past the urns sitting on tables, talking himself through it calmly enough. But then, the audio starts acting up. A wave of static and distortion bleeding into his narration, even though he claims he didn't hear any of it while he was standing there. That alone would be enough to make most people turn around. He keeps going. Watch.
I have a friend that works that he would see and hear things coming from these furnaces when they're burning the bodies. So when I'm walking through here, they usually put the urns out to send to the families. So when I'm walking here at night, I walk right by these urns that they put on these tables here. And then I come down, freaking out. Fuck. This is crazy.
As he holds the camera on a shelf lined with urns, the lid on a white marble patterned one lifts, twice, accompanied by a sharp metallic screeching sound that fills the room. His reaction is immediate and visceral. He swears, the camera swings toward the ceiling, and he runs. He doesn't stop until he's back in the office hallway, breathing hard, trying to gather himself. But it doesn't stop there. While he's hiding in the office, a faint, low breathy moan is caught on the recording, something he wouldn't have even known was there until he reviewed the footage later. And then, outside, standing in the parking lot with a cemetery sitting just beyond the fence line, a high-pitched female voice is captured, soft and quick, cutting through the night air. Some believe locations like this, places where the recently deceased pass through daily, carry a kind of residual energy that doesn't always leave with the body. Others think the EVPs point to something more active, something still present on the grounds. If you listen closely to that second voice especially, it's hard to explain away as ambient noise. So what exactly was in that room with him?